You're listening to the Inspired Legacy Podcast on the Edify Podcast Network. This is episode 73.
Put God first.
Hey guys, it's Mark, your host and founder of the Inspired Legacy. As always, this is the show that equips and inspires you to leave a godly legacy. And today's show is a special one for me in the fact that I'm welcoming my son-in-law, Jacob Green, on as a guest. But we are also greasing the skids, so to speak, to have Jacob be a larger part of this show and the Inspired Legacy platform as a whole. And so today's episode is really an introductory conversation into a larger topic that we will continue to touch on in future episodes, future weeks. But it really revolves around family, the importance of family, but specifically how the family structure today differs from that of biblical times and all of the benefits that came along with that old family structure. And so I don't want to give too much away now, but I think this is going to be a valuable conversation. Again, this is a starter conversation, but I want you to continue to stay tuned into the show because we're going to continue to unpack this concept in future weeks. And so all that to say, I'm excited to have Jacob join me today. I hope you get something from this conversation, and I hope you continue to tune in because this is going to be a valuable topic for guys going forward. So with that, here's my conversation with my son-in-law, with whom I am well pleased, Jacob Green. Jacob, welcome to the show, buddy.
Thank you. I'm excited to be able to finally make it work.
So those watching and listening, you're not going to know who Jacob is, most likely. But Jacob is my son-in-law, but he's also a passionate father and husband and is all in on all things Inspired Legacy. And, you know, going back to a few episodes ago when I mentioned that I was toying with the idea of scaling this thing back or shutting it down altogether, Jacob was one of the first people that reached out to me and said, look, dude, I want to help. Whatever I can do to help to keep this thing going, you were all in. And so I was very appreciative of that. And so we are testing the waters, so to speak, of having you getting much more involved with this podcast, with the Inspired Legacy platform overall. And we'll just kind of see how it goes. But, you are now a moderator of our private Facebook group. And we'll see, if you like this podcast thing, potentially even pulling you in as like a co-host. So I'm excited about the opportunities and again, grateful for your willingness to contribute to the cause. So, and I've mentioned this to you personally, but I'll reiterate it here too. I'm so thankful that my daughter has got somebody like you on her side who's all in on this stuff. Cause you are certainly showing a willingness to grow and develop, not just personally, but in your faith walk, much sooner in life than I ever was. So again, I'm grateful for that and grateful for your time today. So I see that you're outdoors.
Yeah, we're having a little Wi-Fi issues, but it's nice to stay out here. So just hopefully no trains come by. But I mean, like you said, we can just touch on that real quick. It was just, I've listened to every single episode of the Inspired Legacy start to finish, and it's made a big difference for me. And I ride my bike to and from work. I was on my way to work. And as soon as you said that sentence, I'm thinking about dialing it back, maybe cutting it off. I had to stop the episode and completely rewind because I just got lost in my thoughts. Felt, immediately led to reach out to you and myself involved in any way possible because it's made such a big impact on me. And hopefully it's making as big of an impact on other men out there as well. So glad to be a part of it. So thank you.
Well, yeah, my pleasure. And again, that is the hope, that we are reaching guys out there, changing the world one dad at a time. And I say that out loud once in a while, and it sounds pretty lofty and maybe even unattainable. But I really do think that the more guys, if we just keep chipping away, this show, a million shows like it, I feel like there's a movement afoot, that more men are realizing their role as the leader of the family. And if we can just get more men on that train, we will turn things around for the next generation. So this is exciting. I know you have a specific topic that you wanted to touch on today. I'm going to turn the mic over to you. Let's start off by, we've touched on who you are a little bit, but give us your full dad bio, what you've got going on at home, and then you can just kind of roll right into the topic of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. So for anyone out there who wants to get started, know just a little bit about me, you can go check out the About section on the inspiredlegacy.com. There's a little bit out there on me. But yeah, I've been at home married to my wife, who is Mark's oldest daughter, for about 3 years now. We celebrated our 3-year anniversary just a couple weeks ago. It's hard to believe that time's gone by that quickly, but it's been an amazing 3 years. And then, yeah, I'm just kind of still getting started in the whole fatherhood journey. I have my 2-year-old at home. He's the most amazing little boy in the whole world. Mark's first grandson. So we've been having a lot of fun with that over the last couple of years. And, yeah, we grew up in Sioux Falls there with Mark, and then I moved to Iowa for school, and lived in small town Iowa for a little while. And then just last year, the day after Christmas, we packed it up, headed out to Boulder, Colorado. So that's been a whole new adventure for us.
Yeah, you guys had a lot going on there for a while. Still do, I guess, because now you're in a home, and there's with home ownership comes endless list of to-do items. You are neck deep in that for sure.
Definitely. Real estate out here is a little wild. So we got a fixer-upper, and we've been having fun getting that process started of home ownership. So it's been a whole nother adventure in itself, but it's been awesome.
It's been fun to watch you guys transform that place. Yeah, let's dive into the topic at hand today. What do you got for us?
Yeah, so I'll preface it with this. So basically, when I started my whole fatherhood journey, I was always kind of neutral on kids, and ended up marrying your daughter, who I don't think there's anything in the world that she's ever wanted more than just to be a mom. So as we started that journey together, she was just so prepared and so motivated. She did so much research, and honestly, I just felt super unqualified and super unfit. And she just motivated me every single day to, make myself into a better man, into a better father. So that's kind of where my whole journey started, is actually with her. And then I just started slowly leaning into the idea over time of, she's doing her part. Now I got to really inherit my role as the father, as God intended it to be. And a lot of that started with the Inspired Legacy. And then, way back when, I'm sure you remember, I had reached out to you and asked, hey, I listen all the time, listen to every single episode. Do you have any other resources that I can get myself involved in? And you just sent me a whole bunch of different podcasts. And man, that just opened up a big old can of worms for me. It just, it just lit a fire in me to just seek out all of these resources, seek out the wisdom of men who have been around the block, and, men, fathers, pastors, the whole shebang, just reaching out and finding that knowledge, take it or leave it. And it's just really been able to develop my view for my family and really lean into my role as God intended it to be. So I guess going into the topic that I wanted to discuss is kind of based on that. So one of the podcasts and one of the ideas that resonated the most with me was started by a couple guys out in Cincinnati. And it's just the idea of the multi-generational family. So this idea relates really well back to the last blog post that we had put up. So if anybody hasn't read that blog post yet, I encourage you to hit pause real quick and go and check out that blog post on the inspiredlegacy.com. Basically, the idea is that we've gotten really, really far away from the way that we were biblically intended to live. And the 21st century has skewed us so far in every aspect of life. And obviously the most important to fathers is in family and in fatherhood. So it's just the idea that if we truly step back and take a look at the family structure and what that looked like back in biblical times, it's extremely different from what we see now, especially in Western culture. That's just kind of the idea that I wanted to discuss, is how far we've gotten away from what that looks like. And once we establish what that looked like, then you can dive in and, different aspects in the Bible of how family looked start to take on a whole new meaning. And honestly, that opened my eyes to so many things.
This podcast is part of the Edify Podcast Network. Edify is a faith-inspiring app that brings together thousands of the best Christian podcasts in one place for your listening enjoyment. Cut through the noise and grow your faith by diving into the world's top Christian podcasts today. Download the Edify app for free from the App Store or Google Play, or by going to edify.app. That's edifi.app.
So paint a picture for what did the family structure look like back in the day?
Sure. So if we look kind of back in a lot of different areas of the world, living in Christianity still live like this. It's the idea, again, just the basic is that the families are a multi-generational project, they're teams. It's if you look at different parts in the world and how it was back in the Bible, people were living with all of your extended family, like your family. Our idea of family right now is so much different than it used to be, because the way it used to be and in different parts of the world, the way it is, the extended family as we see it now wasn't extended. It was just your family. So you get families all over the world, and especially back in biblical times, where you're living with all of the children, the mom, the dad, the grandparents, aunts, uncles, everyone's all there. And even if they're not living together, they're in close harmony, right? Everything that you do is related back to family. And it's the idea back then that family, it was truly so much more close-knit than what we see now. Basically, and now that we see in 21st century in Western culture is the idea of the nuclear family. So it's basically, mom, dad, kids, and every single generation, the kids use the family as a springboard to get to a higher level of society. And then the process just restarts all over again. Because then they'll get married, they'll have kids, and then their kids will use that as a springboard to spring in the next layer of society. Even if you live in the same city, people are only seeing their families at, Christmas and holidays, Thanksgiving, all that kind of stuff. And it's the idea of the nuclear family is so flawed in the fact that families can fall apart so easily if you don't have other members of your family to lean on.
Right.
So that.
Well, I was just going to say, in like your guys' case, you've moved a couple states away, and you really don't. There's no family there, no family support. So, and you guys have already gone through some stuff that it would have been nice to have family there to help you through that. And I know I can relate to that too, because my wife and I, early in our marriage, we moved pretty far away from where we grew up. No family down there. We were fortunate enough, and you are too, to have family come visit from time to time, but it's just different when they're not there day in and day out to really just come together and support each other. But I think that we are so far removed from that mentality now that it just seems really foreign, at least in America, I feel like.
Absolutely. And it's wild how it would seem so weird. And again, I mentioned at the blog, it seems almost radical for you to think about living in that kind of way, where family's so close to you. Like everyone just needs nothing but privacy, and you only want to see people when you want to see people. And it's not the way it used to be. It's not the way that you used to be able to lean on your family in a lot different way than we do now, in the nuclear family.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it's been interesting because honestly, I've kind of taken this idea on as one of my main mantras as I lead and guide my family. And it's been interesting because I didn't develop this view already just moved away from my family. So it's been interesting to see how that's incorporated into my view. Because like you said, the easiest way to do it is with family close by. I'm thankful that we live in the 21st century where it is a little bit different. I mean, we have the tools, we have FaceTime and Zoom calls and all those different resources where we're able to stay in closer contact than you would have been previously without all of that stuff. And obviously, we do Zooms and FaceTimes and all that stuff to make sure that Caleb stays connected to you guys as he grows up. So that's something super important to us. But basically, I feel comfortable now with where we're at in, right near Denver and Boulder, Colorado, where I can build this style of family living. And in this area, future generations will have everything they need. Like a lot of times this view, the blowback on this view is, it, discourages the idea of individuality. And when you're so focused on family, it destroys your individuality. And that's such a big day. But that's not necessarily the case. It's just the idea that the best way to achieve your individual goals is by using your family team to help you along that process. There is no better support system, and there never will be, than your family. So it's about, for me, I'm living in a place now where hopefully my kids will have everything that they need. My future generations will have everything to to carry that on. And there's, their belief will be, well, I have everything here that I need. The best way for me to achieve my individual goals is by using my family as that support system.
Yeah. And I think that within that family structure that you're talking about, there are so many benefits when it comes to instilling a strong work ethic into the younger generation to help guide and nurture their faith walk, and just all the opportunities that exist because you're all sort of there together to pass along knowledge and wisdom and lessons learned from previous generations. You can do that now today, and we do, but there's the challenge of the physical disconnect, right? Because we're living, apart. And so I think that is, that's definitely something that, an aspect of what you're talking about that I hadn't really considered before until you were just talking just now. So, I don't know where I was going at that point, but it's just an observation.
Absolutely. So it's been a process to try and figure out how that works and how it looks in the future. But again, part of it is just, this kind of view is going to take a level of intentionality that I probably never would have viewed myself putting into my family previously. I mean, it's going to, basically it's just laying the groundwork and instilling that belief family wide, and being that it's starting now and it's something that I'm passionate about now, it's going to require a lot of intentional conversations with, my parents and my grandparents and all that stuff to inform them, okay, here's what I'm trying to build. Like here's why, here's how I'm going to do it. And then it's going to try and continue from me to the next generation. And then for my kids to their generations. And hopefully that level of passion, that level of intentionality for family continues for as many generations down the road.
Yeah. So, put you on the spot here for a little bit. I mean, we've talked about some practical tools that will help us overcome, FaceTime, Zoom, but what are some other ways that you can think of, that some tools or techniques that we can employ to help us overcome the physical distance that so many families experience?
Yeah. So through those resources, we have a lot of stuff throughout, just a lot of different tools that you can use to start building that view. And a lot of it is just establishing traditions over the years. It's just finding something that works for you, something that works for your family. One of the things that attracts me the most that they do frequently is their Shabbat dinners. So it's just basically the idea that back a couple times they used to do this, where there was one night a week where the entire family comes together and they have their big feast, and it's in preparation for their Sabbath day. And it's just, nobody else has any other plans that day. That is family night. That is everything. Everyone comes together. Everyone makes a meal together. It could be the same thing every week. Could be different every week. Could be simple. Could be complex, depending on how old your kids are. Obviously, if, something like that, if you have younger kids, it's going to be a little bit tough to engage them. But it could be as simple as, let's go get some pizza crust. Let's make some homemade pizzas. That's something that the kids would enjoy. And it just kind of preps you to get in and spend some time with family, do nothing else, have nothing else planned, no phones, no nothing. Just spend time with your family every single week on the same night, every single week, so that everyone knows. And that's just kind of your time for relaxation and getting reconnected with your family. And it's important to sit down in such a busy world that we live in and just have that relaxed time and preparation. Yeah,
that's a good thought. And there I'm going to, intentional date nights with your wife, or intentionally scheduling, every Saturday, go fishing with your kids, or just things like that are scheduled that everybody can kind of look forward to. And then, like you said, that dedicated time together with no distractions, just focused time together, which then creates so many opportunities to have deep, meaningful conversations and just really foster those relationships.
Yeah, absolutely. And then it can just balloon out from there. A lot of it's just going to be the intentional behavior and spending with your family.
Well, as you can see, we lost Jacob, and if it wasn't obvious, we were having some connection issues from the get-go. So I think this is probably a good spot to wrap this one up. We didn't really dive too deep into this. I feel like this was a good conversation to kind of set the stage for some next-level conversations around this topic. So I think expect maybe a part 2 or even a part 3 where Jacob and I really dive deeper into some of these ideas around the family structure, how it differs today from back in ancient biblical times, and the benefits of how the family was structured back then versus today. So this will give us a chance to kind of iron out our technical difficulties. Again, I'm excited to have Jacob be a larger part of this show, a larger part of the Inspired Legacy platform in general. Stay tuned, and this is going to be a fun and interesting topic in the weeks ahead. Guys, thanks for listening. If you enjoyed today's conversation, share it with a friend and subscribe to the show so you don't miss future episodes like the one you heard today. And be sure to check today's show notes for all the ways you can stay plugged into the Inspired Legacy, including my free download called 9 Ways to Be a Better Dad. You can sign up for my free weekly devotional called Inspired Inbox. And you can join the private Facebook group, a community of other like-minded men looking to become the best husbands and fathers they can be. So get plugged in. Like, subscribe, leave a review, and help more guys find the show, because we need more men battling together for the sake of the next generation. Until next time, live inspired.